Hi, my name's Megan Vickers. I'm a physiotherapist and Pilates instructor, and I specialise in anti and postnatal rehabilitation. And this is my Pilates for Pregnancy programme. This video is month 3 of the series. Now in this month you may well be starting to feel pretty groggy with sickness and nausea and fatigue really taking a hold. So my endurance section's a little bit shorter and there's a nice relaxing abdominal setting section in the middle as well. So I hope you enjoy it. This series of exercises are suitable for anyone in their first trimester, with the only exception being if you've been recommended not to exercise at this time, or if you've never exercised before. The current guidelines are to wait until your second trimester to start exercising. So today we're going to start in standing with our warm-up. So in a nice comfortable position, ideally on the beach if you're lucky enough to be on holiday. In standing, we're going to start with some shoulder rolls. So on the one side, the shoulder comes up, back, and as you shrug it down, lean down towards that side. So you just open up your waist, roll into the centre and curl back up. So you get some mobility into your spine. Shoulder shrug, up, back, down, into the centre, and then rolling back up. Once more on each side, shoulder shrug, down, into the centre, and roll. One last one. Big shoulder shrug out. We're going to come into some calf raises where you can set your abdominal muscles. So your pelvic floor and your deep core muscles work together to give you the centre of core stability. So on your out breath, I want you to think about closing the pelvic outlet, stopping a flow of urine or passage of wind, and then lifting like an elevator coming up through the middle. On your out breath, we're going to set that now as we raise up onto our tiptoes. Breathe in and release that down. Breathe out, closing the pelvic outlet, lifting up onto our tiptoes. Breathing in, releasing that down. Now I want you to increase that even more. Imagine a zip from your tailbone running all the way under your body up to your tummy button. You're going to close that zip every time you lift up, so that contraction comes up further through the abdominal wall. Your pelvic floor muscles and your deep transverse abdominis core muscle working together to give you that core stability through your middle, to give you pelvic stability all the way through our pregnancy. Now we're going to add in the arms. Breath out, we arm raise, rise up. Breath in, come down. Just start setting those muscles, getting your focus on the deep muscle system, preparing you for what's to come. Last 3, 2, and 1. Now we're going to take that a little bit further into a squat. So as you squat, I want the weight in your heels. Push your bottom back behind you and reach your arms forwards. I'm lifting up my toes to check the weight is back in my heels. My knees are pointing forwards and my shoulders are open. Now I'm going to try and get that zip again from my tailbone underneath me all the way up to my navel as I breathe out and stand up. And release. Now if that's too tricky, come back to just closing the pelvic outlet. Get some sensation in the pelvic floor as you breathe out and you come back up. And as you get stronger, you'll be able to increase that intensity and add in the lower abdominals as well. Breathe out, close and lift that pelvic floor. Inhale, release, bottom goes back. Exhale, close and lift. And release. Now the real challenge here, see if you can keep that close and lift on all the way through. So you just get all that gentle core contraction, that little weighted support of your baby. Imagine giving your baby a hug, so you're just lifting up and bringing your baby in towards your spine. 4 more, hopefully starting to feel your heart rate go up now. Really important that we work on raising our heart rate and getting a little bit puffed out in our exercise for our pregnancy. Preparing the baby as well as ourselves for labour and later life. And up. Really awesome. Okay. So now the hard work really starts. This is your warm-up section. So we're going to work on a series of postural control with some split squat exercises. So I'm going to start with my left leg in front. So my right leg, I'm going to step it far back behind me. I'm going to make sure that everything is pointing forwards. My shoulder blade, my collarbones, my pelvis, and my head is all pointing in the same direction. My toes and my knees are pointing dead ahead. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bend both knees and bring our arms up over our head. Lifting through that pelvic floor as I come back up. Dropping down, trying to get that back knee close to the floor if I can. And back up. Now as I raise my arms up, particularly as our pregnancy progresses, if you're carrying a bump, carrying twins, then you may want to sway your back backwards, but we're trying to resist that. So we're just trying to keep those tummy muscles tight. Okay, last 2. And 1. Now as we go, we're going to twist towards that bent knee. So arms start up, we're twisting towards that bent knee, and we're coming back up. Starting to feel that burn in the legs now, hopefully. Feel that endurance, keep that strength in them all the way through. Rotation is good for keeping mobility in your back. It's also working your tummy muscles quite nicely too. Final 2. And 1. And up. Now we're going to come down and we're going to hold it just past halfway. Concentrate on the front leg only. Now you all might recognise a clam exercise where you roll your knee open from the hip. We're going to hold it here for this leg. Then we're going to do the back leg. 5, 6. Try and keep your foot planted. Really get into those bottom muscles. 9, 10. Now the back knee. Wrap that back knee open. Try and keep your pelvis forward so you're not twisting around to that side. Pelvis forwards, knee rolls open and in. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the last of our set, we're going to pulse. Taking it deep breath from there, just back up to halfway. Really feeling those muscles, trying to keep that core active. Pelvic floor, lower tummy muscles lifted all the way through. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step in. Whew. Good work. Give those legs a little shake out. We're going to change it over. So I'm going on to my right leg now. Left leg stepping back. Whoop. Get our balance there. The first thing we're going to do is raise our arms up. So both arms come up. Check that both knees are bent to 90 degrees. Lifting my pelvic floor and low tummy as I stand. Dropping down and lifting through my core pelvic floor. And if we can, as soon as we can, those muscles stay active all the way through. Woo. It's watching the surfers arrive. Ready for the twist, 1 more. And now we're going to twist. So, twisting down towards that bent knee and rising up. Down towards our bent knee and up. Get that rotation as much as you can round to that side. So you're really twisting your trunk, getting your tummy muscles working, getting that spine mobilised, warming up those legs nicely. 2 more. Woo. 1. Coming down just past halfway, give me clams on that front leg. Knee rolling out, foot staying planted, coming from the hip. Really feeling that bottom work, hopefully. 7, 8, 9, 10. Back knee rolling open. Just from the hip, foot stays planted. That roll of the knee out. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now pulsing down from that point, only up to halfway. So you're really getting both thighs burning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step it in. Really, really good. Now we're going to jump on that raised heart rate straight away as we bring it down onto all fours, okay? So we're going to keep our heart rate a little bit higher for the warm-up. So, this exercise is really good for our abdominals. Really great before our bump gets too big to keep strengthening those muscles through our pregnancy, okay? So, on all fours, we're going to lift our chest. This is also a great workout for the upper body. Lift our chest, have our toes tucked under. Try and get a flat coffee table back. So we don't want to be too arched, we don't want to be too rounded. We want to be as flat as can be if possible. Okay, now on our out breath, we're going to start with that deep core lift, that pelvic floor, and zip up our low tummy. Start here, and then that's going to intensify as we lift and hover our knees. So we're going to breathe out, we're going to set our core muscles, We're going to press through our hands and toes, tummy draws in, and we hover for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release that back down. 4 more like that. Set your center, breathe out, lift up, feeling those tummy muscles draw in. We don't want them to push out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, breathing out, pelvic floor, close and lift. Tummy muscles draw in as we lift and hover. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. 2 more, just like that. Out breath, pelvic floor. Bigger muscles over the top come in as we draw our tummy muscles in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for the last time, pelvic floor starts us off. Tummy muscles kick in second as we breathe out, and our tummy draws in and we hover up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we release down. Really good. Okay, now we're going to take that into the next level. So I put this intermediate to advanced level exercise, working on the whole body. So if that one's tough enough, stay there. Otherwise, give this a go. So the hands are moving up the mat, so they're in front of me now. I'm going to start with that pelvic floor close and lift, knee hover, and then all in the same breath, I'm going to shoot forwards into a full plank position. I'm going to hold it here for 1 in breath, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to hold it here for 1 in breath, and then I'm going to travel on my out breath. So we're going to come back and forwards, going up and down our mat, really working on their core, working on your legs, your upper body, everything's working, that heart rate is raising. Give me 6 more. More, and hold it here in full plank for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shoot it back, drop your knees, push your bottom to the sky. So you just take the weight out of your shoulders and ease into a stretch. Really good, guys. That's your whole body warm up done. Now we're going to move it down and really focus on our pelvic floor and deep core muscles in our tummy. So these muscles are slightly disadvantaged in our pregnancy. As our baby in our uterus grows, these muscles are on the biggest stretch. So what happens is they become less efficient at doing their job. They have to work harder, but from a disadvantaged position. It's a perfectly natural change. The way we cope with it is that we exercise those muscles all the way through our pregnancy. So we prepare for our body for the changes to come as they happen little by little, rather than waiting to the very end and then trying to make all those muscles work. We keep working all the way through, those muscles keep their strength and they keep that control of our tummy muscles, which helps prevent back pain, pelvic pain, and helps our tummy and our pelvic recovery post-natally as well. So really important that they stay nice and strong. So focusing on these muscles, we're going to be on our backs. I'll get a good view of the sea now. So in lying, we're going to start with our hands on our tummy. So you just want to be on your pelvis bones, then in and down onto the soft part of your tummy. That way your baby is lying right now. Start with that pelvic floor close, and then add in that zip, that lift all the way up to your tummy muscles. See if you can feel a bit of tension in your low tummy. Like your tummy pulling taut like a trampoline. And then release it. Often you feel it more in the release. Do that again, this time checking your upper tummy muscles stay relaxed. These sets of exercises are all about your pelvic floor and your deep muscles, not these big superficial muscles on the outside. We've already worked those a little bit, and we'll work them more a little bit later on. Try one more of those for me, really feeling that control, that close, that lift, that release, and let go. All right, now we're going to try and hold it on. We're going to do an exercise called one leg stretch. It's really tempting to lift your leg up, but don't lift your leg up for now. Keep it on the floor, dragging the foot on the floor. So close and lift, feel that muscle underneath your fingers. Breathe out and slide the leg away from you, keeping it in contact with the floor. And then slide the leg back in. I want you to use your hands for this. It's really common if our muscles are really quite strong, for all of the big muscles to want to kick in and engage. That's not the goal of the exercise. The goal is to use as little muscle as possible for this. So what we're doing is we're strengthening our postural system. not compensating and using our big muscle system to do a small job. So we're trying to raise the threshold of what our deep muscle system can do. So as you go, sliding one leg out and back in, you're checking that you can't feel anything change in your tummy. You just want to keep that low level tension like you've got a corset around your pelvis. That muscle stays strong and switched on. As one leg goes out, other leg stays so still, like a lamppost. Okay, now we're going to add in our arms and we don't need them to feel anymore. Our arms are going to come up as the leg goes away. We're trying to keep our body exactly as it is on the mat. So the natural curve in our low back, our shoulder blades resting on the floor, and making sure nothing changes as we slide out and as we slide back in. If we can, facing straight up towards the sky so our whole spine is in one straight alignment. Trying to keep the leg that's not moving completely still. And we're going to do 2 more on each side. So we can do as many of these as we need to really gain that conscious awareness of those deep muscles. As you reach away, you feel like that muscle tightening through your tummy. Just those muscles pulling taut around your baby. Not harming your baby in the slightest. Your baby will enjoy the sensation in that movement. And coming back. Okay, hands back onto your tummy again to check for any extra movement that shouldn't be there. Now we're going to do an exercise called scissors. Start with the pelvic floor, close and lift, then zip up that low tummy. And float one leg into a tabletop position. Sometimes those muscles up here want to kick in. We're trying to keep those as relaxed as possible. And then that leg comes down. And the opposite leg, on your out breath, it floats. In breath, it lowers. Out breath, float. Drawing in through that low tummy. In breath, and lower. Okay, once you've got the hang of that and the tummy muscles doing what we want them to do, think about your pelvis. Make sure that your pelvis isn't rocking on the mat. But this is just coming from your hip and there's no rock going on through your pelvis. Imagine imprints of both sides of your bottom on the floor, and those imprints are perfectly equal. No more weight on one side than there is on the other. Now as soon as you can, let's bring our arms up and let's add in the opposite arm overhead. Breath out, breath in. Just 6 more. Out, in, out. 4 to go. And 1. Now coming back to the right leg, we're going to float that leg up. We're going to work on hip twist. The leg moves out to the side from the hip, making sure that the pelvis stays completely level on the mat. You can glance down and check your pelvis is level, or feel for the weight into each side of your bottom. The weight should be perfectly equal. Breath out, that leg moves outside your body. Again, if you can't feel what's going on in your tummy, you can use your hands. You should feel your deep muscle system come on first, and maybe a little bit of the higher muscles. So you're just layering up those muscle systems now, which is really important. It's how our body works. We just want to keep it functioning like that as our babies grow. Give me 4, 3, 2. And we're going to change sides. The opposite leg comes up, so as steady as we change. The leg rotates, and then it comes back in. And you may feel completely different one side compared to the other. So every time we start, it's like a little test. How does it feel? How does it move? And we do 6 more. If you practice this a few times now, have a go with your arms up. You realise how much support you're relying from your arms and how much it's coming from the core. You want it to come from the tummy muscles, so as soon as you can, those arms float up and challenge your balance a little bit further. Last one. and then we come down. Perfect. We're going to lie on our side now. So we're going to stay with that automatic deep core control, and we're going to layer up the bigger muscles over the top. So bring your arm out, wrap it underneath your head so you can lie perfectly on your side so you're balanced well. You want to try and create a little bit of a waist, so you have a waist in standing, and you want that in lying as well. So you're balanced on the rocker ball of your bottom hip, so it may be a good balance challenge. Okay, your neck is long and nicely supported with a pillow if you have one. Now we're going to start with the top leg, and we're just going to lift it up off of our body. Okay, we're going to try and balance now on that bottom hip as the bottom leg comes up and joins that top leg, and then they both come down. Now this is all about that automatic control, seeing what muscles in our tummy kick in. Okay, you can use your hand to check. If you've got your spine set up and you're in neutral, I bet those deep pelvic floor and tummy muscles are switched on to keep you balanced on that bottom hip. Then as the weight of your legs comes into the challenge, you'll probably feel all your other muscles come on too. This is what we're looking for, that progression of your core control. Now if you do feel quite unsteady, you can always pop a hand down just until you get the hang of that. You're trying to keep your bottom waist lifted, like there's a grape or something small and soft placed underneath that waist, and you don't want to squash it. Your spine stays in neutral. It's a good one to practice this now. As we do it later in our pregnancy, when our tummies have grown, it becomes a real challenge to balance. Okay, now we're going to move on to side kick. I'm going to bend my bottom knee just a little bit to give me some more support. If you can, keep that straight. Now the top leg kicks forward. You feel all those tummy muscles draw in to keep that balance and control. And then the leg comes back. Breathe in, kick forwards. Breathe out, pull that leg back into the hip. Forwards and back. Now imagine the video is only from my hip upwards. You can't see my leg. I should stay as still as possible, so you shouldn't be able to tell I'm moving my leg. A real good indicator of that is the shoulder. Sometimes the shoulder does a little dance. So if you keep your hand up, your idea is to keep that hand perfectly still, no waving at anyone as you go. Give me 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax down. Okay, now you're going to layer in those muscles even more. So you're going to come onto your bottom elbow, bend our legs, and when you look down your body, there should be a straight line down the front of your body. So you're not bent back at your hips. Everything's in one straight line. Elbow, hip, and knees. Feet are bent behind you. So we're going to press through our elbow and through our knees. First, I want you to just make sure your muscles work in the correct sequence. Pelvic floor first, then the lower tummy muscles, and then on our out breath, our bigger oblique muscles at our waist. We're going to breathe out and lift up, breathe in and come down. Double check that shoulder's right underneath you so it gives you that support. It's really good on that arm as well. It's going to give you some nice defined muscles through your shoulder, working on these side bends. And then come up and hold it. We're going to add a twist. Twist working in all of our muscles across our tummy. And then open up and look at that hand and go back a touch if you can. Twist under and open. Breathe in, breathe out as we twist. I'm trying to keep my hips stacked so the movement comes from my waist, and that's where those tummy muscles will kick in. Take breaks on this if you need to, because it can be quite tiring on that underneath arm. Give me 2 more. And 8. I'm going to readjust that shoulder, keep it underneath you. Now up in your side, half side plank, we're going to do a little clam here, really layering up those muscle systems, opening that top knee, keeping the waist lifted, you're strong in that shoulder, both bottoms working to hold you up. And 8. Now side leg lift if you can to finish. 8. As you lift that leg up, you don't want the bottom hip to drop. Work on your waist, stay lifted. 7, 8, hold it here and breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax it down. come into a little mermaid just to take the stretch into that waist that's done all of our lovely work. It's a great progressive little bit of work for your tummy muscles there, well done. Okay, now you've got the other side to go. So as we change ends on our mat, thinking about that setup first of all. So the head wraps, the arm wraps underneath our head, and the whole body is straight. You've got that underneath waist lifted, and you're balanced on the rocker ball of the hip. Hand down if you need it, otherwise the shoulder draws down and away, balance on the hip. All up to the sky, see how you go. So the top leg lifts, and then the bottom leg joins the top leg, and then they both lower down. Lift, lift, and lower, keeping that top waist long and lengthened. And 2 more. And 1. Really good. Now I'm going to bend my underneath leg just for a little bit of extra stability on this slope here. And just a touch of a bend, just to give me a slightly bigger base of support. Then my top leg is going to lift and it's going to kick forwards. I'm really focusing on my tummy muscles to make sure I don't sway forwards or backwards from my back. My pelvis stays still, like there's a spring from my rib to my pelvis bone, keeping tension there so that as my leg goes back I don't splay forwards, and as it kicks forwards I don't round back. That stays still. Breath in to kick, breath out to draw back, in to kick, out to come back. Really focusing on where that movement's coming from. All around that hip socket, so my bottom's pulling it back, kicking forwards and pulling it back. 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Pop up onto your bottom elbow. Keeping that elbow right underneath your shoulder and keep drawing it back in if it slips away from you. We're going to straighten out our body so our knees, our hips and our shoulder are all in one straight line. And the first thing we do is we lift up and come down for 5. Setting our pelvic floor first, zipping up our low tummy, and then bringing in the other muscles as we lift up naturally into a half side plank, and then they come down. So those muscles will kick in as you lift up. Breath out, breath in, breath out, and in. Now we're going to hold it for our twists. So lift, hold it, and we're going to twist from the rib all the way over to the bottom hip, and then opening that back up. Little look back if you can, so you get rotation all the way round, all the way up, all the way round. Final 2. And we're ready for a hold. So we're going to hold it here and we're going to clam that top leg, pelvis bones stacked on top of one another, just rolling from the hip, making sure we're not falling back. This weight's really working hard. And now leg lifts. So these ones, that bottom waist really has to stay lifted. As we lift that leg, we want to sag and dip down. We don't let that happen. Our arm is strong up towards the sky. We're lifted out of our shoulder. 6, 7, 8, hold it and breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Bring those legs back behind you. Come and sit into your lovely mermaid stretch that you've earned, feeling that all the way down the side of your body. Okay, we're going to finish with a couple of my favourite stretches. So these stretches are really nice all the way through pregnancy. As our body starts to change shape, which is probably around about now, we want to keep that spine as mobile and open as possible. So onto all fours, we're going to do thread the needle. So you're going to start lifting through our chest, and then you're going to take your right arm open, really spin that round. Chest is getting bigger and tighter, so we want to keep that open. gives you a little tummy stretch as well, which is great to open up your rib cage. Look at your hand, breathe in. Now we're going to thread that arm underneath the bottom arm. Look underneath the arm as you go and twist through. And then draw it all the way back up towards the sky. Big breath in and breath out. Thread that arm underneath. And finish up to the sky and back down. Okay, we're going to change. Lift the chest, create a coffee table, flat back. Arm up. And then thread that underneath the weight bearing arm. Bend that elbow so you can look under and twist your spine, like you're wringing it out. Come through, breathe in. Breathe out. And again, finishing up towards the sky. And down. Now a cat stretch. So with our cat stretch, we're going to think about it almost like a ripple up our back. So every segment of our spine gets involved in this stretch. Start with that flat back position. And then we're going to start at the head. Crown of the head points down towards the floor as we curl the upper part of our back down. Then our chest is going to lift, rounding at the shoulders. Then our ribs are going to lift in, rounding that mid back. And then finally that lower back rounds as I pull my tail underneath me. So my whole back is rounded. Keeping my upper body still, I'm going to release my tail, release my low back, then my rib cage, then my chest, and then my head curls out. And then in reverse, starting at your tail. Tail tucks under, lower back starts to flatten and then round as my tummy comes in, my ribs come in, my shoulders round, my chest comes in, and finally my chin onto my chest. And then releasing from the top end. Out, chest comes down, ribs come down, low back starts to dip. Such a nice one to work on as our pregnancy progresses. Now we're going to make our way up into standing. So we're going to tuck under from the tail, and flatten them round my low back. Then my tummy lifts, my ribs lift, my shoulder goes round, my chin comes onto my chest, and then my toes tuck under. I'm just going to step them in a little bit. From here, I'm going to straighten up, stretching through the back of my legs. And then we make our way up into standing, keeping our chin on our chest, restacking our vertebrae one at a time, tailbone tucks under, spine curls, restacking our spine one vertebra at a time, coming up, shoulders roll out, and then our heads roll out last. Well done guys, you're all done for month 3. So I hope you join me back here next month for month 4 of our pregnancy. And that's where we kind of change into our second trimester, which is really exciting, and a few little changes to our exercise from that point. I hope you've enjoyed the view as much as I have. See you next month.